for the year. During the year, we have 4 different meetings, sometimes 5, and UCOP stands for United Council of Parents. And our goal with these sessions is to bring you information, to bring you different topics that we know that you have interest in. And today, being that we are starting a brand new year, we know that often parents leaving their kids at school for the first time often have questions dealing with safety. So this evening, our session, our first UCOP is Let's Talk Safety. And that's going to be our focus this evening. But before we get started with that, being that today is September 11th, we did want to take just one moment in remembrance of the terrorist attack and all of the lives that were lost on this day, 2001. So if y'all could join me with a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Okay, so like I said, today it's all about safety and what UISD has been doing and preparing through the years to make sure that we ensure safety for our students, for our teachers, and for our community that use our campuses. It is great pleasure for me this evening to have a panel of administrators here at UISD. Before I introduce the panel, though, I would like to introduce to you Dr. Gerardo Cruz. He is our superintendent for UISD, and we have him here to say a few words and to welcome all of you this evening.
Well, thank you. Welcome, parents, and everyone here, community members who are here with us today. It's important for us to communicate what we do every day to ensure the safety of our students and to ensure the safety of our staff. I do have to say, as a new superintendent coming into this new district, there are quite a bit of safety measures, and it's very, very impressive. Beginning with our backpack searches, beginning with the metal detectors that are in place, and given the response time that we do, working with our community partners, working with the police, and working with our campus administrators to make sure that safety is the forefront. Not only about safety, but it's also making sure that we have academics in place. Proud to say that UISD is projected to be an A-rated school district. Very good clap, very good. Focusing on academics. Another focus is making sure that we have resources available for all of our staff and all of our students, making sure that we use our funding wisely. So those are things that I'm going to be working on to make sure that we get only the very best for our students. Also today, I do ask that you pay very close attention. I do know that some of you have already submitted questions. We do have a great panel. It comes with a lot of experience. We have our community partners here from Laredo PD, as well as district partners here at UISD. So again, welcome and thank you, and let's enjoy each other and make sure that we get all your questions answered. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Cruz. So now it's time to introduce our panel of administrators. Joining us here we have Mr. Joseph Mike Garza. He is the Associate Superintendent for Administration and Operations. We have Mr. Ruben Ayala, Safety and Crisis Response Administrator. From UISD Police Department, we have Lieutenant Ronnie Lopez. From Laredo Police Department, the Public Information Officer, Mr. Joe Baeza. Joining us this evening, we have Assistant Superintendent of Administration and Policies, Ms. Rebecca Morales. And our UISD Director of Guidance and Counseling, Ms. Melissa Ramirez. So parents, what we've done today is really, I have a set of questions that we have, that I have kind of created based on questions that we get at the beginning of the year from different parents, whether we're principals, whether we're administrators on the campus, they're district administrators. These are frequently asked questions that we know concern parents. So I'm going to be asking these questions, and I'm going to give the panel that opportunity to answer. I will call one of the persons, the individuals directly, but anybody on the panel can go ahead and answer as well if they have information to provide. What I am doing is also providing you a QR code. So as we're asking these questions, if you think of a question, if you have something that you would like to ask, we'd like you to join us by scanning the QR code. It'll take you to a Google Sheet, and you can write your question. That question will be sent to Ms. Collins. This is Denise Collins. She is our Parent Engagement Coordinator. So she'll be receiving the questions. Yes. And she will be passing those to me so that we can try to get through as many questions as possible through this session. Okay? So thank you all very much. And with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, first question that we have is, this question is going out to Mr. Mike Garza. What type of building safety measures are in place for campuses and large extracurricular events this school year?
Thank you, Ms. Ramirez. Can everybody hear me okay? Yes, okay, perfect. Before we get started, I do want to give a real big thank you to Ms. Ramirez and the whole team of federal programs. If you could please raise your hand or stand up to be recognized. Thank you very much for bringing this together. Thank you. They do a great job of making sure that we're reaching out to our parents in a very thoughtful and meaningful way, and it gives us great pleasure to be here. Bienvenidos a todas las familias aquí, padres de familias. Es importante que saben que es un tema importante, ¿verdad?, que vamos a tocar esta noche y quieren que sepan ustedes que la seguridad de nuestro distrito es importante. Es el número uno enfocado que tenemos en el distrito para ayudarles y para estar seguros que tenemos un plan ya hecho, preparado para sostener el año escolar. También quiero darle gracias a mis colegas porque es importante que comunicamos en estos temas. So, addressing the question very specifically about safety measures, UISD has done a very, very good job of being the leaders in the forefront of all the different safety measures that can be in place. As a matter of fact, the state has gone through every district, and we have to submit to the state all of the requirements, all the things that we have done to be able to meet the standards that they have. And there are many, many, many school districts, and some in our community that haven't met those standards, and UISD has met them not only this year, but they have met them in prior years. And so we're ahead of the curve in many aspects. We're one of the first districts, or the first district, to actually have armed officers at every one of our campuses. That is now a mandate of the state of Texas. And they probably, quite frankly, have taken it because of our process, right, where we started doing that. And so now the state requires that every single campus in the state of Texas has an armed officer. In addition, we have other implementations that we've done. For example, every one of our campuses in the main entrances has a film. It's a glass-resistant film. We call it bullet-resistant. It's not bulletproof, but it essentially slows down any type of a projectile that can go into the building, right? And so that's in every single one of our campuses. And that was a multi-million-dollar project that we had to get done for all of our main entrances and all of our library entrances, all of our cafeteria entrances. So that's a layer of protection that goes about 6 feet high that provides for all of our campuses. In addition, we have a monitoring camera system that's monitored 24/7. Not only does every campus have their own monitoring station in the front, but we are monitoring from a central location in our police department. So we do a very good job of maintaining that equipment and making sure that it's state-of-the-art items that we're doing. We have, in addition, key card access control panels. We have indoor and exterior door lock policy. So last year was the first year that we implemented an indoor lock policy. And what does that mean? While class is in session and students are in class, we have mandated that every door be locked. And the reason that that's a critical component is that through all the studies that we've been able to uncover, there has been very few fatalities, if really zero fatalities, whenever there's been a locked door situation in a building and there's been a active shooter, right? So we want to make sure and eliminate any possibility of fatalities when we have that type of situation. So we implemented that last year. And earlier this year, we were talking about it prior to the meeting started, we had that incident at Alexander High School where, we had a report of an individual that had a weapon. Thankfully, he was never in the building. There was never any threat inside the building. But it was a really good opportunity for us to go through an exercise that felt as real as possible. And the reality is that after we met with our staff, we were able to realize that our policies worked, our drills worked, and everybody, to a teacher, to a person, understood the reasoning behind having the locked door policy. So that has been very effective for us. In addition, we have our traditional metal detectors, but we've also invested over $700,000 last year in these weapon detection systems that you probably have seen in our extracurricular locations, in our football games, our basketball games, and the entries of all of our high schools, of all of our middle schools. This year, we're now investing for our elementary schools, and we're investing in additional units for our middle schools. One of the more important features that we did this year is we implemented a system called Centegix, which is essentially a panic device button. Every single employee at UISD, including our bus drivers, including our custodial staff, every single employee carries this particular device. And what does this device do? This is an actual alert button so that individuals, regardless of where you're stationed or where you're at, can press in case of an emergency. Now, it has two main features. It has a practical feature where people can press it for medical emergencies, student safety issues, or anything dealing with just daily activities, which we've had a lot of, by the way. But also, it allows the individual to lock down a location, right? And so I'm sure everybody heard about what happened in Georgia this past week, right? We had 4 fatalities, an active shooter. They had just implemented this system a week earlier, before that happened. And we believe that system being in place and that system being activated saved a lot of lives. Unfortunately, there were 4 people that were killed in that particular instance. We probably would have estimated more people potentially being killed had it not been for that system. So we're very proud that we unveiled it and we implemented it at the end of the school year, in early summer. And so now all of our staff has several months in utilizing it, and we've been using it every day. There's been some activation of some kind every day, so it has a practical purpose. In addition, we have every one of our schools has a perimeter fence, which is no longer required by the state of Texas. Because we have a locked door policy, exterior fencing is not required. However, UISD, in all the years that we've been operating, we have that as a mandatory item, that we have exterior fencing in all of our particular facilities. And then finally, we spent several millions of dollars. It was part of our community support of UISD for our security stations. So as you know, if you visited our campuses, in order for you to walk in, you have to check in. You have to check in as a visitor. And we have a check-in process that we do to be able to, and that's required by law, right? That we have to check in any individuals to make sure that they don't have any background that is suspect before they enter our building. But that was a multi-million-dollar project that was a part of our bond election in 2013. And so now every one of our facilities has a security station that you have to check in before you go into our facility. So again, UISD does a very good job, and we are leading the pack in all the safety and security measures that are available out there. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Garza. I know that that's a lot of information, but as parents, you're familiar with a lot of the things when you go to the campuses. You see the different things that they're talking about, and it's been a process through the years that they've been developing. So thank you. Along those lines, he talked about having a police officer at every campus. So this question goes to Lieutenant Lopez. Do all campuses have police officers from the beginning of the year until the end, and what is their role on campus?
Yeah, currently, we do have police officers at every campus. Elementaries and middle schools have one officer. The minimum, as Mr. Garza stated, is mandated by state law. At the high schools, we try to have a minimum of 2 officers at all time. And also, our primary role, police and security, is to maintain a safe environment for the staff, the teachers, and mainly the students. So we're responsible for checking in people, like Mr. Garza said, the securities, through our system. Any visitors is checked in. They monitor the metal detectors. We also responsible for maintaining and checking the doors that they're locked and secured daily. And we submit reports weekly, but we check them daily. And also, we have to be ready to respond. Every officer is certified through the alert. It's mandated by law for all school-based officers, so we have to respond to mitigate any active threats. That's our main role. And also, we do enforce state laws. Just like we hold our licenses just like any other officer in the state of Texas.
Thank you, Officer Lopez. The next question is, not only is it through the police or security and different interventions, but Ms. Morales, are there school-wide prevention and intervention programs in place to support a healthy school climate?
So before I answer, I want to say what a great turnout tonight. So parents, thank you. We're even putting out additional tables. So what a great message you all are sending about your commitment to partnering with us as a school district. We know that this is not a job that we can do alone, parents. We need our parents as our partners in education. We need our parents as our partners to make sure that our kids are safe and they're receiving the best services and the best support, the best instruction that we can offer. So thank you, parents. You can be doing so many other things right now at 6 o'clock. You could be watching Netflix. You could be preparing dinner, helping with homework, all of it. But you're here. So thank you. Thank you all for being here tonight. So yes. Absolutely shows your commitment, and we thank you. We thank you for that. We do have a lot of prevention programs in order to promote a healthy school climate. We have, of course, our counseling department that is very involved with our students. We're very privileged also to have 4 licensed professional counselors. Not enough. We're working on it. We're asking for the state, obviously, to support us in this endeavor. But we have licensed professional counselors that can really help our students when it comes to crisis response, support, intervention for our students. We have our social emotional learning curriculum and activities that we're dedicated to daily. So every day, all of our students, elementary, middle, and high school, are participating in these activities, having these conversations. And this is something that we have committed to, from our teachers to our counselors to our administrators. I have to say that Ms. Ramirez has done, as our Director of Guidance and Counseling, has done an amazing job at leading that department and making sure that we are providing the support that our students need. And when it comes to social emotional learning, this is a conversation that is very consistent, and every week, even in the weekly emails, reminders that we send all our administrators, we send a weekly affirmation, a weekly skill that we're working on with our students and our staff, because even our staff need that. We have, of course, our PBIS program through our discipline management department. That's positive behavior intervention and supports. This is a program that we have had for many years here at UISD, and I think that every year it becomes stronger and we have more. So if you all go to your campus and you see the MAVS expectations, right? And, all of these, the Rattler strike expectations. These are expectations that we communicate to our students in an effort to build a positive climate with them. Of course, we have a great and robust safety program in the district, and we're always looking at new ways on, what new initiatives, what new programs, what new supports can we bring to our district. And then one last thing that I'd like to mention, Ms. Ramirez, we are really promoting customer service, ladies and gentlemen. begin this school year. We have a new driving force in our district, which is called United Cares, and our customer service standards, which are United in Service. So you're going to be seeing, we've been training all of our staff. It's going to take some time, okay, but we want your feedback. So here shortly, you are going to be seeing some retractable banners at every campus and at every department. And so when you visit, and even when you call, this is going to be on our website. We want you to scan the QR code, and we want you to give us some feedback, because we know that this is an area that we've really been needing to focus on. We care about the service that you receive here in the district, and we want to make sure that we are providing the best service also to you, all our customers, our students, our staff, our community members, and our parents. So thank you.
All right, well, thank you so much. Before we continue, I do want to introduce somebody in our audience, our board member, Mr. Frank Castillo. Thank you for being here. I know you'd like to say a few words.
Thank you, Mrs. Ramirez. Buenas tardes a todos, a cada uno de ustedes. Mi nombre es Francisco Castillo. Soy el representante del Distrito 7 del Distrito Escolar de United. Le estoy hablando en español porque yo sé que hay mucha gente bilingüe, pero me van a entender, ¿verdad?
They have headsets. We have translators.
Okay, so you do have those headsets. Once again, Frank Castillo. I'm a family man. That's why I'm here, because I have the same concerns that many of you might have. I'm a family man that have children who've gone through UISD, and then I have grandchildren coming up. So I'm interested to know what we're doing with our safety programs, what we do at the district. These people up front, they have our full support as school board members. We're doing the best we can to try to make sure they get all the resources they need to ensure that our school and our campuses are safe and they are secure for our children. Once again, Frank Castillo, whatever I can do to help in any event in the future, I'm here more than happy to be available. But again, you can always reach me at the school board. Frank Castillo. Thank you again. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so we were talking about interventions and all of the different programs that we have on our campus, yet we still have teens, we still have children that engage in high-risk activities, or they tend to get in trouble. So this question goes to Mr. Ramirez, the Director of Counseling and Guidance. What is it that drives kids to continue to follow in these footsteps?
Well, before I answer the question, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, parents, thank you so much for being here. It is very, very important for us to continue to have this support from you in order to help our students and your children with any risky behaviors, as the question was posed. And why do students engage in risky behaviors? Usually it's a combination of environmental factors, social factors. Students want to fit in. They're pressured through their peers sometimes, so it's important for you to have those healthy conversations with them and tell them that, make sure that you do make the right choice and not follow along. So a lot of times it's peer pressure that the students are going through. Also social media. Social media plays, students do a lot of risky behaviors, as we're seeing with the drugs that are out there right now. Fentanyl is on the rise. Parents, please, you need to be aware of that. And you also, please, I encourage you to come to our parenting sessions that we are hosting also through our guidance and counseling department. We do some that are virtual and we do some that are in person. And it's important, the state does mandate, for us to teach our students about what is fentanyl and what are the dangers of fentanyl. Right now, as we see in our nationwide, is the vaping problem that we have. Parents, be informed about that, because some students, if they have a vape and it has THC, they're going to Step Academy. So those are some of the risky behaviors that the students encounter because of peer pressure, because of social media, also because they want to explore, depending on their developmental stages in life, whether they're middle school students or they're high school students, they're exploring. They want to be independent. They want to have that autonomy. They think they're grown-ups. They think they're grown-ups, but they're not. And so they want to try these things. And you need to be well informed. talk to your children daily and what is happening, what are you doing, who are you hanging around with, check their backpacks, learn about the different, vapes come in different styles, shapes, and sizes. They could be perfume bottles, they could be pencils, they could be highlighters, and so check also if you have different age siblings, because sometimes if your older child is vaping, sometimes those elementary students end up taking those vape pens to the campus, and if it has THC, they're going to the alternative school. So, go ahead.
I'm sorry, even, there's a new House bill that passed the last legislative session, House Bill 114, that actually mandates that we also send students with electronic cigarettes to as a mandatory placement. So even if it's not THC, even if it's nicotine, electronic cigarettes has been a real hot topic across the state, across the nation, quite honestly.
And sometimes parents get upset and they think, well, the district is doing this, just like Ms. Morales said. This has nothing to do with us. It has everything that the state is telling us that we need to do. And sometimes the state will mandate from one day to the next. Last year, we started the school year, and they said, starting September the 1st, you need to educate all students in middle and high school about fentanyl. So what did we do? I work with a lot of community agencies. In a district this size, we could not survive without our community partners. And we have the fire department that comes in and also does presentations on fentanyl, because they're also highly specialized. They have an opioid crisis team. So I know the question was about risky behaviors, but it's important. I want to take this opportunity to also keep you aware of what's out there. We will have different presentations going on, so please come to those presentations because they're real important. But basically, the risky behaviors, peer pressure, social media, and wanting to fit in all the time. They want to be cool, they don't have friends, and it's very difficult to tell your child if they're in middle school. Developmentally, they all want to fit in, they want friends, so they want to do what their friends are doing. So please have that communication with your children because it's very important. We do have counselors at every campus. Some campuses, middle and high school, have multiple counselors. Like Ms. Morales mentioned, we have 4 licensed professional counselors and we have 4 licensed chemical dependency counselors. And what does all that mean? Licensed professional counselors, they can help with anxiety, coping skills. Licensed chemical dependency counselors, substance abuse, okay? Those students that start exploring about wanting to smoke, about vaping, if you see that, go reach out to a counselor and get them some help. It's real important. Why? Because first they start vaping, and then what happens after? It's not enough, then they lead to other risky behaviors, other types of drugs, okay? So we're here to support you 110%, parents. Number one thing is communication. Communication. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ayala, Mrs. Ramirez brought up the issue of vaping. What deterrents do we have against vaping at UISD?
Good evening. So some of the deterrents that we've invested on is last year, what we started was implementing pilot programs with vape detectors. So these vape detectors are placed in several parts of the campus. Thank you. At several parts of the campus. And so these are used to deter students from using these devices on campus. One of the other things that was mentioned earlier was our LCDCs, which are licensed chemical dependency counselors that work at each feeder pattern. And they address some of these issues with these students to try to prevent them from using, and also if they begin to use, help them stop using. One of the other things that we do is if a student is caught with these devices, we have multiple programs. One of them being the U-First program. So that program, not only does it reduce maybe the number of days that they will place in an alternative school, it may defer their adjudication or their charges, which may be up to a felony depending if it's THC. But also it's the counseling component. And so one of the things that program offers that I'm very proud of, and I've seen it in action, is our Ropes Challenge course. So this is a course that we've invested a lot of money in. We have trained professionals that go out there, which are usually our LCD and also our discipline management staff. And it's with the parents and the students, and they go through these courses, and they're physical courses, but it's more of the counseling, that make the biggest impact. When I've seen the students and the teachers and the students and the parents engaging in these activities, building those relationships that may have been broken, and trying to build that communication so that the parents and the student can now start talking about what's causing the problems and why are they doing and acting in these ways and having these risky behaviors. So those are some of the things, but mainly it's our vape detectors, which we are investing, piloting, and we're continue to invest in those, and they've been very successful at this point.
Thank you, thank you. Officer Lopez, how are vape cases being handled by UISD Police?
Okay, vape cases, I mean, we've got two different ways we handle them, because we have juveniles versus adults. So juveniles are being processed through Webb County Youth Village, and there they provide a lot of counseling and assistance through them. So now adults, I believe it was last year, Mr. Isidro Laniza, the current district attorney, went into agreement with the United ISD. So when we process an adult, then once they receive the case, they put them through a pretrial diversion program. So if the case is completed, they complete that, then eventually he's gonna help assist them and to get their record expunged, because it'll go permanently on their records. So, so far, I mean, as far as, that's how we handle vape cases. What trends do we see with vapes? Pretty much a majority of the cases that we have at the high schools and middle schools now are either THC vapes or nicotine vapes. So, like, I got some statistics for you on those. In 2022, 2023, I guess that's when we started seeing a lot more vape cases. We had 60 adult cases that we processed, 249 juvenile cases. And last year, through our effective means of using like the detectors that they used and stuff, so kids, I guess, didn't bring them as much or whatever, and so they were reduced. The juveniles were 171, adults were 70 cases that we processed last year. So this year, it's been starting off kind of slow, thank God. I mean, we've had a few vape cases so far this year. Other issues that we've had, we have nicotine also, but we don't arrest on those. Those are processed administratively, like Ms. Morales said. Marijuana, we hardly ever see marijuana cases now, or any other hard drugs, cocaine, heroin. So far, we haven't seen any fentanyl either. It's either very few cases of pills or anything like that. Primarily, the issue right now in the high schools and middle schools are vapes. And like they said, vapes are being disguised in many different forms nowadays. So it's changed a lot significantly in that case. Also, we've had a few cases, I believe it was last year, of edibles. Also, that THC edibles. So, like I said, we try to, I mean, there's PowerPoints that they put together. I mean, there's videos that parents can see, because, I mean, effectively, those vapes are causing a lot of damage to lungs, to the youth lungs. I've had, when I first started off, a friend of mine was assigned to DEA. I mean, they were getting called to the hospitals a lot of times with kids that were ending up at the hospitals, local hospitals, ODing on the THC vapes. Because the percentages are, some of them are extremely high, between 89 to 93% of the THC. So, I mean, that's pretty high. So, right now, like I said, I mean, that's a current, the trends that we're doing, and again, I reiterate, I mean, the district attorney is actually, I mean, trying to educate these kids that there's consequences as far as an arrest. But I mean, I guess, they're trying to help them, to educate them that there's consequences and an arrest, but educate them at the same time, putting them through the pretrial diversion program, and going as far as if once they complete it, then they'll assist them or get that case expunged expunged from their records. In juveniles, it's very different. I mean, juveniles are handled, there's a lot of counseling, a lot of programs for them that they provide through juvenile.
We have a question from the audience, and they're asking, will there be any repercussions for a student if a parent requests help from the school? If a parent suspects vaping, how can they go about it? Ms. Ramirez, yes.
The best,
Go ahead.
the best thing, parents, is to communicate. Don't bring the vape, but call and speak to your counselor. Let them know what your concern is. Then come in, ask for an appointment so that they can meet with you, and then you can share what your concerns are so that the students can help, so that the students can get help. There's not going to be a consequence for that because you're seeking help. Now, if the child brings it onto campus, then there will be a consequence. So that's why I say communication is so important. So please reach out and ask for help. Ask your counselors for help. You can also call me, and I'll provide my number later on.
I want to just add to that. So absolutely not, there will not be a consequence as long as they don't have it in their possession and as long as they're not under the influence at school, then there is no consequence. We want prevention, parents. We want to be able to help and intervene before our students get into trouble. We actually have a dedicated webpage. Last year we started a task force. Actually the year before last, at the end of the year, we started a task force here in the district. It's our United Against Vaping Task Force. And we meet regularly. We have a group of people from the community. We have people from the other school district, higher education, just all kinds of people that come together to brainstorm to see what we could do to support our students and support our community, because we see it as a community problem. It's not just a UISD problem. We have a dedicated webpage. It's uisd.net/United Against Vaping. Please visit that webpage if you have not done so. We have a lot of resources there. We have our information for our 4 LCDCs, our licensed chemical dependency counselors. So you can actually reach out to them directly, send them an email, call them, and they will be happy to help. We have, again, a lot of resources available for you parents. Like I said, it's uisd.net/United Against Vaping. And that's something that we have some videos there, we have some PSAs there, we have resources. So again, it's something that we're hoping that our parents and our community is taking advantage of.
One of the things I want to add also, Ms. Ramirez, is that if your children participate in extracurricular activities at United, we do have a random drug testing policy that any student that's participating has to enroll in, right? And so that's always a really good deterrent for individuals that want to participate in extracurricular activities, and if they want to continue to participate, they are part of this random process. Most of our secondary schools do have kits available, so that if you are interested in just testing your child in the freedom of your home, you can ask for a kit, and that can be provided to you as well.
And that is free of charge. Ask your licensed chemical dependency counselor. That is free of charge.
And there will be no consequences if you find that they come out positive. That is for you to do whatever you need to do, speak to us, speak to a counselor, but there is no consequence if you find that in your own home.
Yes. The next question, Officer Baeza, as we're talking about vaping, do Laredo police officers, can you give us information? What is it that you see in our community?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you first for the invitation to be here with you. I almost never get to see faces. People tell me that they see me almost every day, but I never get to see your smiling faces. So thank you for the honor of letting me be here on behalf of the police department. The department does go and do inspections to a lot of these vape shops, but it's a combination of different things that are affecting the access to vape and vape products to your children, which is not only the vape shops locally, but they can order it online. Their friends are selling it, and they're buying it. They're buying it in droves. But we have had successful arrests in people who are dealing the vapes. The vapes are very concentrated. Even the vape shops have been visited with surprise visits from people from the narcotics division who are constantly making sure that they're not selling the type of vape or vape products that are more potent than allowed by law. And it's a constant check that we have to do this to assure that the public isn't being poisoned by these extreme vape pens and cartridges that come in all kinds of different flavors. But we do have a group of people who dedicate themselves to making sure that this is going on. That's the LPD Narcotics and Vice Unit.
Okay, thank you so much. We also have one more question for you from the audience. They're asking if Laredo Police, if you're enforcing the speed limit around school zones.
Oh, yes, we are. Just to give you an example, and this is just the traffic officers who everybody loves, right? In the mornings when everybody's in a hurry. The traffic guys in one sitting, I'll give you an example, first week back to school, which is a very busy time, and I'm sure everybody will agree. That division alone, this is not including the people who are on patrol in those neighborhoods. They issued out upwards of 600 citations in 1 week, that first week. So it's not the enforcement that is not taking place. It has to be the combination of both the enforcement and also everybody taking responsibility for the way they drive. And so we do see a lot of aggressive driving, people who are late. This is why we're constantly telling people whenever we have an opportunity to educate them, you need to leave your house with more time. All of us who grew up in Laredo know that there was a time that you could get to one point to Laredo to the other in 15 minutes. Can't do that anymore. And the times that you're more likely to become involved in an accident is Monday morning and Friday at 5 o'clock. Does that surprise anybody? It shouldn't. But we are having a lot of people who are aggressively driving. They're crashing by themselves. They're crashing into poles. I can't do a PSA about poles. So the thing is that people are driving in a manner that is not safe. And so by giving you citations, it's not that we want to ruin your day, but we want to change the driving behavior. But we need everyone's help on taking their own responsibility to do that.
Thank you very
And
much.
I know the question revolving around physical buildings, but since we oversee the transportation department too, we got to remember when that bus stops and the red lights are flashing, we all need to stop, right? So that's an important part. As a matter of fact, we are looking at a system that we're going to unveil here pretty quick that's going to have a camera system that is now going to photograph individuals that are violating that particular rule. And if that happens, we're going to be working obviously with the Laredo Police Department, our police department, and you may potentially receive a citation in the mail, right? And at the end of the day, we have to protect our students, whether they're physically at a building or in our portable buildings, which is our school buses, right? So we need to make sure, more especially our special ed students that require a little bit more time to be able to unload and load the students from the bus. We need to be extra vigilant and extra conscious of those particular situations.
Thank you. That's a good point. We have found that students often post inappropriate messages and threats online. What are some consequences of social media threats? This would go to the officers, and I know that we recently experienced that at LISD.
It varies. Let's go with the first one, inappropriate messages, can be handled. Just the number of things nowadays that kids are utilizing, because, their access to phones is like a computer. So they constantly send, either could be, nudes, it could be just threatening or harassing, bothering teachers, bullying. So in those type of cases, we can handle them as a harassment, Class B misdemeanor. We'll work with whatever it is, the juvenile county attorney or the DA's office, and we have to stipulate that, it's a case of bullying, so they could handle it differently and address it, in a different manner. And the second one is gonna be on the threats. Threats, nowadays, we take every single threat very seriously. So these are steps. We try to vet the information. We work very closely with administration, with safety. And once we identify a location that the kid resides making the threats, we've also worked with Laredo PD, the Live Crime Center. They provide information to us. So we'll go pay a visit to the parents. And the point of us going to visit the parent on a threat, conducting a threat assessment is going to be to inform the parents first and foremost that if they're aware that their son or daughter are making these threats. Secondly is to ensure to see if they have access to any weapons. And we'll ask parents if they give us consent to go inside your house and just confirm, and it's going to be his or her bedroom, to see if he has access to any weapons, you know, that he's got hidden or anything in that room. We're not going to go in there and make a mess or anything like that. Secondly is by talking to the parents to see if they do own any weapons and if they have it secured. If they have a safe to secure those weapons, that they're out of reach of the children. Secondly, if they don't have a safe, we even offer, I mean, last night, for instance, we did one yesterday. We offered the parents to see if you know, we could hold them for us at our evidence room, and then you can go pick them up at any time you want. If you don't have a safe, you don't feel comfortable that, you know, they can be kept away from, you know, your son or daughter, then we extend that offer too. And you can go pick them up at any time, especially now. I mean, I mean, what happened in Georgia is gonna happen more often now. Parents are gonna be held responsible for any actions that their juvenile sons, you know, do, especially if they do a school shooting or anything like that. It doesn't have to be a school shooting, it could be in a public place or anything. Parents are gonna be held responsible now, the adults, for making those weapons accessible to kids.
I just want to piggyback on a couple of things that he mentioned because it's real important. The bullying, cyberbullying, and bullying is very rampant. You need to be aware of Senate Bill 179, David's Law. That is so important because a lot of times students think that if they do the nudes or the bullying after 5 o'clock, not during school time or on the weekend, that there are not consequences. There are consequences. So parents, please go to the counselor's website. Go to your school website, there's a counselor's corner, and we posted Senate Bill 179 up there, and it's in Spanish and it's in English. And parents can also be charged if the child does not stop. So please make sure that you're talking to your children about bullying or texting or sexting, or there's a lot of problems that we are having with bullying and with cyberbullying, okay?
And
Thank
just
you.
to kind of add on regarding threats, so as part of the safety, we will investigate any single threat that comes in, whether we think it's credible or not. We're going to make sure that that school, that campus, those students are safe. So then there's also two parts, which would be the behavior threat assessment and also the disciplinary action. So we do an assessment administratively, and that is to help the student, to monitor the student, and to make sure that there's not an escalation of violence. And then there's the disciplinary side. So depending on what the charge is, depending on what the actions were, it would fall into different sections of our student code of conduct. And it could be anywhere from suspension to placement to expulsion. So there are also disciplinary consequences, and we do take them seriously, and we will administer that discipline appropriately depending on the case.
One last thing is to make sure that we're doing an effective job of communicating with you when these things happen, right? So just today, how many of y'all received the message from the school district about a threat or information that was provided? Raise your hand. Okay, so those of you that did not get the message, please make sure that we have your proper contact information, that you're registered appropriately with our system so that you're always getting this information. And I get it. You may get a lot of messages from your campus, you may get a lot of messages from your district, or from the district. You need to make sure that you're registered properly so that you're getting the appropriate information when it's going out there. Because we lived it, and when we had the situation in Alexander, we were communicating through these means and letting everybody know what was going on. And sometimes if you don't get the information, you're going to have more anxiety, right? So we want to be able to effectively communicate with you. So please make sure that you're registered properly.
So what we're saying is if there is a threat at a campus, all parents are notified.
It just depends on the circumstances, certainly, but if it's a remote situation at a particular campus, then only those campus parents will be notified. If it's a situation as of like today, and let me just give you a basic situation. In this case, today, we received a notice from the TEA, Texas Education Agency, that there is a list out there of schools that are under threat. They did not confirm that it's a legitimate threat. It's just information for us to know because it's going through every single school district at the state of Texas. We were letting you know that this information was going out there and there was no credible threat or no credible situation. As a matter of fact, the list that was provided was just a simple list that you can download from probably from TA on our federal program schools, right? It has nothing to do with anything other than these are the schools that get federally funds or get federal funds. And so they just use that as a list that was a threat list for safety, and it wasn't the case. And we were just letting you know, in case your student comes home and says, hey, there's a list, and my school's on that list, it had nothing to do with any type of safety issue.
Can I add one more thing before we go to the next question? I think parents, the most important thing when it comes to threats and what we've seen the majority of the time is students say it just to say it. You know, they're upset or, you know, just for whatever reason, they make these comments. There's no plan, but like Mr. Ayala said, we take every single one seriously. So it's really important that we talk to our students to say, you know what, unfortunately, we don't live in a world anymore where we can take those things as just, we pass them off as it's a joke, he didn't mean it, she didn't mean it. We have to investigate every single one. So I think the last thing I want to say about this is just talk to your children, please. We don't live in a world anymore, unfortunately. We don't live in a world where we can just pass those things off as, well, I was just angry, I didn't mean it. So it's really important, again, that we have those conversations with our children.
Thank you. Officer Baeza, a question from the audience. How is LPD working alongside the district in order to act in a timely manner if there were ever, God forbid, a shooting or threats that arise?
Well, we talk to each other almost on a daily basis, and this is even during when everybody's asleep. It's just what would happen earlier this week with what happened at the Cigarroa Middle School, which I'm sure most of you heard about. The threat was sent rather late into the evening, but we woke everybody up, made sure that all the school administrators, school police department, and even gave a wake-up call to the parents of that 12-year-old young lady who made those threats to make sure that there was no threat or way for her to deliver the threat. And that's the number one priority here, is where is this coming from? And it's really the majority of the times, it's something that was said jokingly, in jest. They didn't think it was going to go very far. And we have all this cancellation of schools and campuses and everything else. Now just remember, it was Cigarroa Middle School, Cigarroa High School, and then even some of the elementary schools that were around it that were canceled for that one day. Imagine all the parents that had to uproot whatever things they had going on, probably had to call in sick, lose days, probably, you know, have to run around and go to work late, all because two 12-year-olds wanted to say this thing, and we don't understand why they would say it. Quite frankly, I think they don't understand what they said. But we do not take any of these issues lightly. Every single case will be investigated thoroughly. We work very closely alongside with UISD, all the administrators. Sometimes I don't even know who I actually work for. It's the city or the school districts. I'm still waiting for the extra checks, but nonetheless, it's done because we want to make sure that your babies are safe. And that's the bottom line.
And I can attest to Officer Baeza will, you know, if there's an accident or there's an interruption with traffic even, he takes his time to communicate, to say, hey, we have this accident here, it might impact your transportation, your buses, you know. So we do have very good communication, and I want to thank Officer Baeza and LPD because they have great communication with us, and they're always looking out for our school district. So thank you.
Thank you.
I do want to bring up also, you know, just a great exhibit of our cooperation when we had the Alexander situation. We had a ton of law enforcement officers actually go to the location. DPS, Laredo PD, Border Patrol, Customs and Border Protection, Sheriff's Department, the FBI. So we have a really, really good collaboration with all the different agencies. And we do walkthroughs. We actually have gatherings every once a quarter, or probably more frequently, where we introduce our law enforcement community to our school buildings, right? Because you don't want them showing up to a building for the very first time and not know where all the exit entry points are. And of course, our system is in place where we're able to notify all the law enforcement agencies where to enter, where to go through, and of course, our 24/7 monitoring that we have in our central station as well.
You may have answered this question, but just to emphasize, they want to know the difference between what's a credible threat.
Oh, we don't know what a credible threat is. I mean, until we verify it, that burden is on us. We're just not going to take the word of somebody, whether or not they're joking or not. For us, it's not a joke. We go through the full scale, making sure that there is no way for them to deliver what they've said or what they've referred to. Sometimes it's difficult because it's like what's happened afterwards. This all happened Monday. So I think there was something yesterday that began to circulate, but it was actually from the original threat that happened on Monday. So then there's confusion, and then people are very worried about what they're hearing. And it doesn't help that obviously there's nationwide up to 40 shootings that have happened so far this year. So for us, we take each one of those seriously. The department has basically been recognized by the FBI for their manners and tactics to try to address some of these issues. We had a person who was actually making threats towards the campuses a while back, and we intervened in ways that we had never really intervened before. We actually detained the person through an emergency detention to get mentally evaluated, and that bought us some time to see if we could get them and charge them. Well, the person actually wound up committing a federal violation, and then the person is still locked up right now. So we do all kinds of ways and new ways of trying to figure out these rather difficult situations coming to us. Verified or not verified, that's on us. But that's the reason why it's also very difficult to translate to all of you, like you have something to worry about, and or you don't have something to worry about. Our job is twofold. One, I can sit here and tell you how safe the city is, but then my other part of my job is making you actually feel safe. And it's often not one or the other. So again, it's kind of like what happened at Alexander. A lot of the stuff that was happening was actually being perpetuated by a lot of misinformation that was coming through social media. People were reading the same thing over and over again. And so they thought that the threat was happening there and then when it wasn't. So again, we go to all great lengths to try to verify and vet that information so that you guys can get it from us. But trust us, if there was something that you needed to know, and trust me, I've done this for 20 years as the public information officer for the Laredo Police Department, is that even if we wind up scaring you a little bit, like, hey, somebody got attacked at a park, I gotta tell you because I want you to be on your, have your head on a swivel if you go and walk at that park. If you see something, you need to let us know. If you hear something, you better let us know. That's the only way that we can do this together as a community.
Thank you. With that, we talk a lot about anxiety in students. One of the questions, Ms. Ramirez, what is being done to help minimize the mental toll students may feel due to constant shooter and bomber threats?
Once again, we go back whenever there is a situation that's going on, like Ms. Morales mentioned. We have the SEL, Social Emotional Learning Program, that's going on where the teachers are scanning the students daily to see how they are feeling. Whenever there's some type of threat or the student feels anxious, if the teacher does not bring it to us, then usually they're out in the hallway, they'll see the student, they'll bring them over to the counselor, and we will provide that service for them. We also do have access to T-Chat, which is a telehealth, and that is they can get counseling. It's a free counseling session, several counseling sessions that's offered through UTRGV School of Medicine. So we have many programs that are available for the students, but it's important for them either the teachers will recognize them, administrators will recognize them, students could come to us, or parents could call us as well. We also have, like we mentioned, the LCDCs, we also have the LPCs, and it goes back to that communication.
Thank you. A question that was brought up also by the audience is, how are canine dogs integrated into the school safety and drug intervention programs, and how is it used to monitor and decrease drugs on campus?
Our canine, we've got 2 canine officers, police officers assigned to the district. So, I mean, pretty much it's just presence at the high schools mostly, but they'll respond to middle schools. And right now, we're limited to the high schools because, you know, manning issues. But, you know, they check vehicles randomly, the parking lot. They'll coordinate with administration and run classroom checks, pretty much for vapes or any, you know, marijuana, anything like that, any drug. But visibility, a lot of times just standing by the front as kids are walking in, you know, it's a deterrent. Kids will start at times, you know, they're going through trash cans, they find where they discarded a vape, you know, small amounts of marijuana or pills. So that's how the canine are being utilized at the campuses.
All right, well, thank you very much. Another question from the audience is, how long does it take for the district to communicate a threat to parents?
So in every case, it's going to be specific and individual. So a lot of it is going to be dependent on the investigation, when it was reported, how it was reported, and when information is reported. So we've received all types of reports from, it was somebody, there's no name, there's no specific location, but we're going to go ahead and continue to investigate. All to the ones where it's like, it was this person, he said at this time, it was this, and we can go and address it immediately. And it doesn't matter the hour of the day. For us, we don't have an 8 to 5 job. We're going to work whenever the threat comes in, and we're going to work it until it's done. So to give you a specific time limit, we will give the message out as soon as we possibly can to make sure that you are aware of what's happening in our district. We're actually required, depending on the case, to give you that notification. Generally, that notification was created at the district level. I'll create that message. And then it's sent out to the campus so that they can vet it and then also give that out to their community. Depending on the case, if it's specific to a specific campus or district, is where we will send it out. So we will send it out to those that are affected by it. But we do try to send it out as soon as possible. And so that could be, and that will most likely always be within that same day of us receiving it. Unless it was received very late at night. So sometimes it comes in at midnight, and by the time we get investigated, we find the student, find the home, find everything. But our officers are always ready to go, constantly doing home assessments, home threat assessments, and they can do them at any hour. And so as soon as I get that call from them, I'm typing up the message, getting it ready to get sent out. So it's not a matter of when or how. We're going to try to get it done as soon as we possibly can, because it's important for you to know, and then to be able to make that decision and that choice of what you want to do with that. But please know that we do take every single threat seriously, whether it's a first grader or a 12th grader. We don't discriminate. We will vet it. We will make sure. We will talk to the parents, talk to as many witnesses as we possibly can, because more than anything, we want to give you the correct information. The last thing I want to do is put something out there to you that's not true. So that may take us a little bit of time, because I want it to be the truth. And I'm never going to send something out that I don't honestly believe that is our full investigation, and that is what we found to be credible and true at that time.
Okay, thank you so much. And with that, we're going to go ahead and close this session. I think that as parents, we can go on and ask so many questions, but I do want to thank our panel because I think that they're giving us the best information and really the true information that they see on a day-to-day.
I'm sorry, I just want to add one last thing, parents. If you are not aware, we also have a dedicated webpage. It's Keep UISD Safe. And on that webpage, that dedicated webpage, you can report any threats, you can report bullying or harassment, you can report any suspicious behavior. We have a lot of resources there too, information, Title IX reports as well. So again, that's just another place that you can go to report anything. And like Officer Baeza said, if you see something, you hear something, please report it. It's really important that you send that information in.
And a lot, just to finish off, a lot of that information, for me to be able to give it back to you, is how quickly it's reported. So that it's not just repeated on social media and spread through social media, but it's actually reported to our law enforcement, to our administrations, or to the district, so that we can then act on it. Oftentimes we see that it's been posted and posted and posted and nobody's reported it to us. And then finally when it is, excuse me, there's a flag. So finally when it is, it's yes, you may have already seen it for a while, but nobody has reported it to the district. And so that's very important. That needs to be the first place that information goes to, so then that we can give you an investigation and give you the truth of what's actually happening.
Ms. Ramirez, I just wanted to mention, I just also wanted to mention we are celebrating Suicide Awareness Prevention Month. I am wearing the 988 button. It's important for everyone to know this is Access 988 for a crisis or a suicide hotline. 24/7, you can call, text, or chat, and it's in English and in Spanish. Who will answer the phone? It's going to be a licensed professional counselor that will guide you through whatever crisis you are having. You, your children, your grandchildren, whoever it is, anybody, nationwide. This is nationwide, 988. So please help us spread that awareness, 988.
Thank you.
And then let me also finish off. We cannot do this. This is a partnership between our families, our parents, and our school system, right? So this is everybody's responsibility. If you hear something, you need to let us know. The issue that we addressed yesterday, the day before, it was a parent, a father that self-reported, right? So you have to have the courage and the ability to be able to let us know so that we can help, we can intervene, we can do everything we need to do. In the long run, this particular student is probably going to be helped because of counseling and all the services that we can provide. And God forbid that there's any other future trouble that this particular student can get into. If we can intervene early, we can really make a difference. And again, as Officer Baez had mentioned, we can tell you you're safe. You have to feel safe in our school system, right? And one of the things that I want you to know is that we've invested millions and millions of dollars to make sure that we're protecting our students and protecting every single staff member and every visitor that attends. And probably you don't know this, UISD is the third largest police force in our county, okay? So obviously Laredo PD is the largest police force, the Sheriff's Department, and then UISD. So that tells you the commitment that we've made to make sure that we're protecting every single individual that enters into our facility. So we're committed, and it takes both of us to be able to make sure that we continue that commitment. Thank you.
I just wanted to end really quick. Hopefully, this will help also in terms of getting better vetted information. I hope that you join our Facebook page for the Laredo Police Department. Also, we have an LPD app. If you hear something, you can also send messages to us, and we will get them no matter what hour you get them. We get them at, or you send them. And there's someone who's always monitoring that. In addition to that, the school district also has, we have real-time crime analysts. We have access to some of the campuses for UISD. And so we also can assist whenever there's actually an emergency. We instantly log on to where the campus is being reported, and they can quickly begin to start giving that information to the officers as they are arriving. So we're working towards getting all of the schools, but that takes some time. Did you all know that you could text 911? Yes? Maybe so. If not, then this is probably the biggest benefit of tonight, in addition to everything else you heard about. Share that with your kids as well. And the idea is that you use technology. If you can't speak and you need help, a 911 operator will be answering that text as if it was a 911 phone call. Thank you so much.
Thank you, parents. It was very informative. I know that there's a lot of information, and this is one of our sessions. Our interest is to bring awareness, to let you all know what we're doing here at UISD, to help you to answer the questions that you may have. We did give you an evaluation for this evening, so if you all want to hear anything else, other sessions that you want us to bring to you throughout the year, you can let us know there in the evaluation, because we do read them, and we do take that into account so that we can do our planning for our next meetings, all right? Thank you so much for your attention. And with that, before we go, I also want to let you know that in the back, we do have a booth. We have Crime Stoppers that here, y'all could wave. They have some goodies there for you. But they're also our community agency. They want to work with us as well. And at the same time, it's all about safety and what we can do, not only in our schools, but in our communities, in our neighborhoods. Okay, we have 4 little prizes that we want to give out. So before we go, we got prizes. Yes, ma'am. Yes, the evaluations, you all pick those up at the beginning. If you can fill them out, we would greatly, greatly appreciate it, and we'll pick those up at the end. If you all get your tickets ready, we've got some prizes for you. We're going to read out the numbers, and the first number is 722-477. 722-477.
Over there.
Raise your hand high. Congratulations. Our next winner, 722-535. 535. Do we have it? All right, we have another winner. Our next prize winner goes to 502. 502. All right, we have a winner up front. And our last prize. $544. 544. Do we have a winner? 544 going once. Oh, there we go. We've got a winner. Thank you so much.